stand up straight, started running some fevers. And I was like, this is just something different. So called a family friend that's a doctor, and he said, get him to the emergency room in Leesville. That's where he was a doctor at. So we got there, and um, by this time, Cody was in a lot of pain, was having to use a wheelchair. And so took him in, and the emergency room doctor and three nurses couldn't find the pulse in his left foot.
Oh.
And the ER doctor come in, and he said, Mom, he said, we're sending you by ambulance to Our Lady of Lakes in Baton Rouge. Said, there's a neuro team waiting on you there. So we get there, and, you know, all these, my mind's racing all the way to Baton Rouge. Still didn't think anything about it, but that we was going to hear the C word. So we get down there, and they run a battery of tests, and they came in and said, Mom, we're sorry, but he has a 6-inch mass on his spine, and it had his had his spine compromised, so he couldn't feel the left side, the leg. That's what was causing them not to be able to find the pulse. So he immediately went into surgery that morning. I remember before he went in surgery, the doctor was like, you know, he could not walk, he could all these things, and the last thing he says is, you know, you could lose your son. And still not thinking cancer, still not, you know, I was like, okay, well, they're going to go in, take this thing out, and we're going to be okay. And till they called us in a little bitty room, and they said, it's 100% sure that it's going to be cancer. So I said, okay. So he stayed in the hospital after his back surgery. Then they sent us home. 4 weeks later, I get a phone call from a nurse in the oncology department, and she said, Mom, she said, it's stage 4 metastatic Ewing sarcoma. And I just, you know, my heart sank, didn't know what to do. So I said, I know it's probably a losing battle. I said, but will you call St. Jude? Just try. Just try. I know he's too old for St. Jude, but just try. It's worth a shot. So she called St. Jude, and it seemed like an eternity, but I know it wasn't. And she called me back, and she said, Mom, she said, St. Jude has accepted him, but because he was running fever and having tremors, they wanted us to go to the affiliate, which is at Our Lady of Lakes in Baton Rouge.
Right, yeah.
So we get down there, and they send us by ambulance to Memphis. And we're following behind my husband and my daughter. And all the way there, you know, all these thoughts, your mind's running. Why my child? Why now? Why, you know, can this not be true? You're kind of, I don't know, you're not living in a dream, but you're living in a world right there where you don't understand what's going on. And so we get to Memphis, and it's a whirlwind. Doctors come in, and we saw both of his oncology doctors came in, and his whole team came in. They said, we're going to start treatment right away. Cody continued to have fevers, tremors. It was days of living in the unknown. He got really, really sick. And they told us, they said, we'll be honest with you. What he has is very, very, very hard to cure. It's rare. There's not a lot of research on it. They asked us if they could get his tumor from the Mayo Clinic. And we were like, why not? Why would we not want you to get his tumor to do further testing on it? And they said, we just want to get it in our research lab and see if, you know, what the scope of it is. So anyway, immediately started high dose chemotherapy. It was some hard, long days. And so, we, went in, he stayed, we were there 7 weeks. Then they allowed us to come home. And, I remember the first time coming home, it was terrifying. It just was the thought, you're leaving a safe place, a safe haven, and I I think any parent that's been to St. Jude and their child's been through this, they would probably say the same thing. It's leaving that safety net of, you had doctors at your disposal, you had nurses, you could call the med room day or night, any hour of the day, any second of the day, and you knew somebody was there to help your child. So he came home. He went into a trial. He didn't stay in it very long, but we was showing some progression. It wasn't curing him, but it wasn't. It
But
was.
he was responding
to it. There wasn't no new tumors, but the old tumors were still there. But he was responding to it. Doing fairly well. Got back to his normal activities. And 2019 rolled around to the end, and I just kind of saw some things in Cody that I was like, this is not looking good. That Christmas in 2019, I told him, I said, Cody, we're headed back to St. Jude. I said, you could tell he knew that something wasn't right. And so we went in January of 2020, and the tumors had progressed. All along that time, we had relapsed. He relapsed in the summer of 2019. So we was doing when you relapse, that's the worst part, because relapse it's almost like they're playing Russian roulette with your chemos, because they don't know. So you're like, okay, well, you can do this chemo or you can do this chemo. So you have to make that decision. So we did a lot of chemos in between that time period. And when we went back, they said in January of 2020, when we went in, he was very, very, very sick. And they said, why don't you just go home? Didn't tell us it was the end, but they said, go home, decide if you want to keep fighting. And I remember getting to the room, and I was like, well, Cody, what do you want to do? It's your decision. You're old enough to make your own decisions. We would help him make those decisions, but because he was 21, they had to he had to be the one to verbally say, okay, I want that chemo or I don't want that chemo. Yeah. So we went home, discussed it, and he opted for a chemo pill. And we started going to our affiliate in Baton Rouge. And from there, he got a little better. He was able to do more activities. He did what he could do. And I remember he was in a hospital bed in our living room, because it got to where he couldn't get up out of his bed. So we had moved him to a hospital bed, and he woke me up one night and he said, Mom, he said, I can't feel my legs. I said, okay. So I said, why don't you just try to go back to sleep, and I'll call the doctor in the morning and see. So I called the doctor the next morning, and she said, come here, get here as quick as you can. So we went, they admitted him, went through a battery of tests. They came in that morning, told us that he was ate up with tumors. They were everywhere. He actually had a tumor back in his original spot, which was on his spine. They said, you just need to take him home and spend what time you have left with him. And July of 6th of 2020, that morning, he took his last breath. Cody lived if you met him, he lived a life of, he was the life of the party. You'd walk in a room, he just smiled, and he fought to the bitter end.
I remember we interviewed him.
Mm-hmm. He was working,
and he was out on
was working cattle.
Yes,
in, Texas. Yes, and it,
and that was you guys knew that it actually came back, right?
Yes, I mean, we knew at that point that it was back. So we just basically, he was still doing treatment. In between, we were going to Baton Rouge, but they were conversing with his doctors in Memphis, was the ones that had his medical plan all together. So he was still going through everything. He was having to have blood transfusions. He was having to have platelets. His counts would get low. He was going through all of that, but we just, at that point we were like, go live life,
Right.
go
And
do
he
what
did.
you want to do. And he did. You know, I remember in the beginning in Memphis, they told us, they said, you'll never ride a horse again. And Cody was like, watch me, watch me. And I remember we came home, and I remember the nurse at St. Jude in our clinic, she had told me, and this is what caused the fear. I didn't want to leave. Cody was adamant. He was like, Mom, we're going home. He was so excited. First time he'd been excited in a long time.
Right.
And the nurse told me, she said, you need to, as you're traveling, she said, you need to recognize the hospital signs. She said, because she said, if he starts doing this, this, and this, you need to pull over. And I remember we left Memphis, left the hospital. Our vehicle was loaded down, and it was just me and him. And we wasn't even to South Haven. And if y'all know, anybody's been to Memphis, South Haven is not very far outside of Memphis. And he was just sick, sick. I had done him pulled over twice, and I called my husband, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know if I don't even know if we're going to make it out of Tennessee at that point. And I called the hospital, and they patched me, the clinic there, put me through to the nurse. When they went and got her, I told them that we were on the road and he was sick. And she told me what meds to give him, nausea meds. And so he went to sleep, thank goodness, because Mom was a basket case, and I was ready to turn around and go back, you know.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. How do you cut off the mom brain?
You don't. It's half as like saying, you know, I have people tell me all the time, I don't know how you did this, or I don't know how you done that.
Right,
and I don't know how you're still doing that. And I'm like, well, I wasn't given a choice.
Right.
Coming in this morning, I heard one of the moms during the song said it was the husband, and she went into flight mode.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you do. That's what you literally do. I remember the first time we went out of the hospital and we went to Tri Delta. That's where we stayed at, and it was just me and Cody, and he was sick. And I told him, I said, I'm gonna go take a bath. I said, but I'm gonna leave the bathroom door cracked. If you holler, I'll hear you. You know, because he was so sick.
I just get a feeling he did something.
No, he didn't do anything
I would have.
bad. But I got in there, and I just remember just weeping.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how I can do this. And then at the second, I just was like, okay, I'm done. Yeah. We have to fight this. They told us from the beginning, they said, his chemo doctor said, this is a fight.
Yeah.
You're in for the fight of your life. It's hard. It's brutal. Ewing sarcoma is just a beast. It's a lot of pain. Mm-hmm. He had pain in his shoulders where the tumors was, down his legs. The tumors had left literal holes in his bones. Yeah. And it just literally was a constant of, I'm hurting here, I'm hurting there. But you know, St. Jude is amazing. I still say to this day that they gave us 2.5 years with Cody, that I don't think that in my heart, I don't know that we would have had that if we would have went anywhere else. Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. And I will forever sing their praises. Yeah. I absolutely love St. Jude. I love everything they're about. They give you time to focus on your child. They say, let us take this worry from you, and you do this. You take care of your child. I remember our first appointment after he was released from the hospital. Yeah. The first time. And they give you, they have a certain title there, and that person is a part of Child Life, and they follow you around. Okay. And if anybody has never been a part of Child Life, they are amazing. They are your lifeline. That's why I guess they give it the name Child Life, because it's amazing. And we got to the hospital that morning, and of course I had Cody in a wheelchair, and that's why And we had went to our second appointment, and I don't know if the look was on my face
Right.
that,
Right.
whatever, but she looked at me and she said, Mom, that's literally what she said. She said, Mom, she said, have you had breakfast? Have you had something to drink? And I'm like, no, I would give anything for ice cold Dr. Pepper at this point, anything to wake me up, whatever.
You was hangry.
I mean, when you've got a sick child, you take that focus off
Yeah.
yourself. You just like, okay, well, I probably didn't shower today, but just,
Right,
I'm going.
Right.
And I remember her looking at me and she said, give me your CLIN card.
Yeah.
That's what they put your money on when you go to St. Jude.
Okay.
They give you money and it's on a card.
It's on a card. Okay.
She said, if you'll give me your card, I'll go get you some food. And then she proceeded to ask me, well, what do you like? Are you allergic to anything? And I'm like, who is
she's taking
lady?
care of you,
Where
though.
is this lady
Yeah.
from? And just like a literal angel
Yeah.
was sent down. And she come right back. And in fact, right before she left, she asked Cody, she was like, do you want anything? And at that point, he really didn't have an appetite. He couldn't eat. He was just so sick. And I think she ended up bringing him back a Gatorade, and she sat with us. She went with us from appointment to appointment to appointment. And then she sat with us at the end of the day, answered any questions we had and all that. But they literally take care of you. When I say take care of you, it's everything from your meals to, they have valet parking. I remember one time Cody was so sick and the pharmacy didn't have his meds ready for us to leave and to come home. And I pulled up and you make friends with all these people. They see you every day. So it's like they begin to say, well, hey, Kay, how are you today? Or whatever. And they know your vehicle.
Yeah.
That's even scarier to some people. But, and I remember pulling up and the guy came to the car and I said, he is so sick. I said, can I park right here instead of you valet parking so I don't have to get him out?
Right.
He was like, you go get that baby's meds. And I'm like, he's a big baby. He's not a little baby. But anyway, he was like, you go get his meds and you leave. You sit right here. And I come back. He wasn't in my car.
But he was hanging out.
He was standing right there by Cody's door.
See, that's awesome.
Housing. I had several of our little, you see these people in the hall. You see them on the elevators. I had one of the little cleaning ladies. We loved her. We loved getting on her floor because she just went above and beyond. She'd done the little extras. And she would leave me little notes and then I would leave her a little note. Thank you for cleaning our room today. And she would always stop me and say, how's your baby? I'm like, well, my big baby, is sick.
What is that personal touch that you just don't get everywhere?
From everything. I remember one time we forgot something, maybe a toothbrush. I don't even remember what it was. And they have a little room in Tri-Delta. You just go in there. They have deodorant. They literally think about everything possible for you. And even though Cody was older, they never made us feel like, why are you at a kid's hospital?
Right.
Yeah, right.
With these little kids pulling little red wagons. Well, we actually pulled little red wagons because sometimes you have luggage. Sometimes you go and you get packages and you had to carry them. From the med room to K Cafe to everywhere, they make you feel like you're royalty, I would have to say, because you just speak it. I've told this story before. Cody was in the med room and they came in and they all loved Cody. And they were just fascinated because he always had a belt buckle on, always had jeans.
He was a cowboy.
On. So they would have to ask questions and he would be watching roping videos. So they would be like, Cody, what are you watching? And he would have to tell them. And so one time we had this nurse and we loved her. Cody loved her. He would be like, I hope we get her, And
now, did he love her because she was a great nurse or was
both tall, blonde-headed lady, so it was like, and he said, so she hooked him up to his chemo and made sure his IVs was okay and everything. And she said, okay, Cody, she said, I'll be back in a few minutes to check you. She was like, do you need anything? And he was like, what does a guy got to do to get a hot fudge brownie with ice cream?
He just happened to ask her,
And
huh?
I'm like, Cody, I'm thinking, I'll just go get you one.
No.
Whatever. So she was like, well, I'll be right back. Okay. She's going to bring him a little Debbie.
Right,
cake,
right.
Brownie on it. So she goes out and she comes right back and she says, Mom, Cake Cafe said to give him about 10 minutes and come get it. I go pick it up. I kid you not, the brownie was hot. The ice cream was melting on top, and the hot fudge was on top. I had to walk as fast as I could.
Oh man, yeah.
Back, which was not that far.
Right.
From if you've ever been, the med room is not that far from Cake Cafe. But his eyes lit up when I walked in. I was like,
and he ate something.
Exactly, which was surprising. But they do everything for you. I mean, you don't. All your supplies that you need.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can remember, we looked like a walk-in pharmacy going home, but anything you need, like when I say anything you need, from the little green bags, everybody knows what the green bags are, but
right.
To your meds, to everything, you don't do anything.
Well, let me ask you, did you ever receive a bill from those guys?
No, never received a bill. I know there was a few times when we were home, and instead of us going to Baton Rouge, we found a local, local doctor's office that would draw his labs. Sometimes I would go on to Baton Rouge because I knew they would check him there, because I knew he would need platelets and blood, because you could just tell.
Yeah.
And sometimes he was old enough, he could tell me, Mama, I feel like I need blood. I feel like I need that. But even that, here at home, we never had a bill.
Yeah.
Like if he had to get blood and get platelets, or he had to get labs drawn, that bill got sent to them. That was taken.
Right.
Nothing came out of our pocket.
I've never heard that before. I did not know that about St. Jude, that doing outside work
they cover that too.
They cover that too.
Yeah. If we came home and had to have something done, we never paid for. But I mean, nothing.
Did you ever? I'm curious though. Did you ever see the bill? Like what? Like the final total would have been? I guess
it was probably about. Not even a year after Cody passed away, the thought crossed my mind to get his.
Just out of curiosity,
and then
right?
I thought, I probably don't want to know that.
Yeah.
I probably don't want to look at all of his files.
Oh, yeah.
I do have some things. I remember right after he passed away, one of his doctors, chemo doctors, or his oncologist, she called to check on me. And I asked her, somebody had showed me something that I could get done with his heartbeat on it. And so she sent me that. And that's another thing is on the side of when you lose that child. I know for me, the experience past that has been, I still hear from them.
That's what I was going to ask. Do they stay in touch?
I still hear from them. I get cards. In October, they have a day of remembrance. I've never been. I want to go. Maybe one year my schedule, I can work it out to where I can go. But they send you, if you're not going to be in person, they send you this gift. And they make you still feel like you're a part of that St. Jude family, which we still do things with the St. Jude affiliate in Baton Rouge. And, a lot of people probably don't know, but Louisiana is the only state that has two. And so
2 satellite hospitals.
Yeah. And I remember one time Cody was feeling good. So I said, Cody, it's a sunshine day. I'm parking and we're walking.
Yeah.
And we looked up, I found a parking spot that wasn't that far, but, I parked and I don't even know why I looked back at my vehicle. I just don't know why, but there was 6 of us parked straight in a row with Louisiana license plates.
That's what I was telling David the other day. They used to call it, whenever I first started going to tour the campus is what they call it. They don't really call it, the hospital. But they used to call it Little Louisiana. Whenever I first started going, I was like, Little Louisiana in the middle of Memphis, Tennessee. But then it started making sense once I started learning that there's so many. Yeah.
We had a nurse in triage one morning. She was drawing Cody's labs. And she asked a question to Cody and he didn't know the answer. So she looked at me, and when I spoke, she wheeled around in her chair and she said, I know where you're from. And I said,
that's funny.
I
don't have an accent.
We'd never had her before. And
right.
she said, not even thinking about my accent. And she said, you're from Louisiana. And I'm like, how did you know that?
Yeah.
You know, ESP or something.
Right,
you know, how did you know?
Her spidey senses.
And then in her second breath was, what are y'all doing down there?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
obviously not enough.
We're not proactive enough here. To everybody listening, I never thought my child would have to go to St. Jude. And I've had people ask us, why did y'all choose St. Jude? And I don't even know if I have the right words to say for St. Jude. They're amazing. It's just unreal, the things that they do, and it's unbelievable. They share their knowledge all over. After Cody passed away, of course, we formed a foundation in his name, and we talked to a family from Mississippi, and they had called St. Jude to take their son there. And when they called St. Jude, that clinic, there's different clinics at St. Jude, if people don't know.
It's like a process.
It depends on what you have, your diagnosis. We was D clinic, solid tumor clinic. I think Jabin and them was in the same clinic we were in, but there's a process. And she said that when their doctor called about their son, they told him, they said, well, just stay where you're at. We're shooting them every bit of knowledge we have.
Yeah.
And they share that around the world. I mean, we was in a waiting room one day with a family from, I don't remember where they were from.
Was it the phone?
Did
they get to talk on the phone?
They had to talk on, they have phones there, and all over the hospital. You just pick it up and they have like little, you got to watch, because if you pick it up and you hit a button, you might get somebody that doesn't speak English. You speak
exactly.
English, you know?
Exactly.
But, I mean, I from everything from, they do so much. I remember holidays, y'all was talking about Marlo Thomas, and, we was there during Thanksgiving, and Cody was inpatient, and we had a knock on the door. So I hollered, nobody came. So I got up, went to the door, and this lady said, y'all were chosen for the day of Thanksgiving. And I'm like, cool. Okay, what? Well, the nurse happened to be in the room, and so she explained it and what they do. I don't know if they still do this, but at that time, they randomly, during the month of November, they would draw your door number, your room number. And
you had to cook for everybody? Because that's my first thought. Was like, oh my God, here we go.
They gave you, it was different. Like our gift, I think it was maybe a little portable speaker.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
A gift card to Home Goods, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you got gifts though?
Yes.
Okay, that's
cool. It was random. Like it was every day was a different number.
That's totally not where I saw was happening.
No. It wasn't cooking, but that was in the month of they call it something. I don't remember.
Was it something about like a thanks? They do a whole thanks, like Thanksgiving kind of thing where they just give things away during that month, which is
amazing cool. Hospital. I can't say enough about them.
Well, I'm curious.
I remember years I listened to the St. Jude Radiothon, and you never think that's going to be your kid. I mean, I remember at work, I would sit there crying and be like, just sobbing, or listening to my car, and you never think that's going to be your child. But in that moment, and I say this, I think every family would say this, in that moment, you become thankful. I wish there wasn't a hospital like St. Jude.
Yeah.
Wish we didn't need that.
But you're thankful.
But then you're thankful when you're driving, and I drove lots of times. It was just me and Cody, and he would be asleep, and I was thankful, like the words, thank you for a place like St. Jude, that you can go and you don't see a bill, and You don't, your worries, they pay you back for your mileage.
Yeah.
They give you a food card. You can just go and pay cafe, show your card, whatever. They give you a place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
We never went in permanent housing, but even at Tri-Delta, they have groups that come in and feed you.
Yeah.
There was days that he was sick. I couldn't go anywhere. I would either have to call something or
Mm-hmm.
They have groups, church groups that go in and they feed. They have bingo. They have, which I never got to experience that because Cody was like, I'm not going down there with all them kids.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Even at that point, Cody we would see, I remember one time we got on the elevator and it was cold. Y'all know, if y'all have ever been to Memphis in the winter.
Oh, it's cold.
It's bone chilly cold.
It's cold.
It's ice and just, we were headed up to our room and
Mm-hmm.
there was a little kid got off on the same floor we did, and we got in the room and I knew something was bugging him, and I thought, well, he's just had a bad day, and we had probably been in our room about an hour or so, and he said, Mama, we need to go find that family. We need to buy that little boy some shoes and a jacket. I said, Cody, there he was, as sick as he was and fighting a battle that nobody should have to fight. He still saw that need of that child.
Yeah.
And, there was days that he would be like, I don't want to go, fight me, say, I'm not going, I'm not doing this, I'm doing this. And then we would get there and, and even the nurses, they just went out of their way to, I would get tickled because some of them would try to make him smile. And I'm like, you're not going to get a smile out of him, and if you've ever been around him, if he didn't want to smile, he wasn't smiling. But we had one nurse in our clinic and it never failed. She walked in the door and Cody could be having the worst day ever. And she would make it, I'm like,
how?
I'm his mom. He didn't even smile for me this morning.
Was it the blonde? Was it the blonde nurse?
No, she was in the med room. This one was in our clinic, and she called Cody her boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
And she could be with another patient, and she'd pass us, and she'd be.
It's like cowboy. That's what that is.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
He
was. She was about the only one that he would show his dimples to, but
yeah,
it's an amazing place.
Well, let me ask you this, and we could talk to you forever, and I see Jay pacing back and forth because he's wanting to talk to you. Yeah, but if somebody's in their car right now, they don't know as if this is a thing or a place that they want to give to. You've lived it. So what would you, I hate to put you on the spot like that, but what would you say to get them to understand that this, if you're going to give to anything, in my opinion, I think it should be St. Jude, but I'm kind of biased because I get to see where the money's going. But you've lived it. So what would you say to somebody?
Well, I'm like you. I'm probably biased too.
Right.
Because I would say don't give nowhere else but to St. Jude. But I would probably have to say that if you don't have kids, but you have kids in your family, or if you do have kids, just think of it as giving something that, you pull through McDonald's and you're going to spend probably more than $20 at McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, any drive-through, any restaurant. I mean, take that $20 that you're going to spend in that drive-through and give it, because one day you're going to either it's your child or you're going to know a child they're going to call, or you're going to get a text and saying we're on our way to St. Jude.
Mm-hmm.
We took a little girl, our foundation did, on a hunt. And they're in Memphis right now.
Right.
You just never know.
Yeah.
I mean, your child may be fine one day. Look, I thought Cody was fine. He was normal. And then you get the phone call and say, your child has cancer. Like I said earlier, I've always listened. I know Summer and Jeremy and Javen, and we knew their story. We've known other stories.
Yeah.
Christina.
Mm-hmm.
We've known stories and we've listened to it for years. So if you're in your car, you're listening to the radio, just give. Just give. You're not going to miss it. I promise you won't miss it.
Can you say that number that's right there, that 1-800 number.
Just call now to become a partner in hope at 1-800-573-5425.
See, you have the power. Like you can make those phones ring. Like me and David, we're just the goofballs.
We're just talking
yeah,
heads.
we're just we're just it. That's it.
But really, our main concern is, there's a high pollen count today.
Yeah, but there's
like
more.
Said, there's that happens to real people. You think it'll never happen to you. Then from nowhere, a perfectly healthy, he was a teenager then.
Mm-hmm. He was, working, like I said, rodeo, and he just, when he called me that day, he was like, Mom, my back's hurting me. And I thought, he was just roping yesterday or working. Maybe I gave him Tylenol thinking it was but at some point you begin to see this is something beyond my control. And my husband has said it. I've said it. When you're told the words, your child has cancer, you cannot kiss that, or you can't put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
And that's the worst feeling as a parent. But to know that you've got a place like St. Jude, that you get there and it's like they take your worries away. It's I forget what someone said earlier. It's like you're in a storm, but then you get there and that's your shelter. That's your storm shelter. You're going through this storm. Last night some people were probably thinking about getting in a storm shelter.
I was.
But when you in that storm,
yeah.
And literally, if you can imagine a Cat 5 hurricane, that's literally what we went through because Ewing's, there's no cure for Ewing's.
Yeah.
So it's like you're in the worst hurricane, and then you get there and they're your storm shelter. That's probably not a good analogy to use, but after hearing that earlier, I thought, that's true. That's what that guy said. It's a storm, but they give you a shelter. They give you that place to go and say, hey, we're going to take all this from you.
And hope.
Yes.
And that's why we're asking you to be a partner in hope. Call the Barksdale Federal Credit Union phone bank right now, please, at 1-800-573-5425, 1-800-573-5425. Kay Neesmith, thank you so much for sharing your story and Cody's, because they're inextricably linked. His story is yours and yours is his. And we thank you so much for your time.
Thank y'all for having me.
All right, I'm going to play this liner real fast, and then I'm going to play some Cody Johnson for Cody.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
It's the 30th annual Country Carriers for St. Jude Radiothon. It's going on now.
KRRV HD1, Alexandria, Louisiana. Streaming online at krrvonline.com and on your smart speaker and phone. We're the Cenla Broadcasting Station.
Dear rodeo, I'd be lying if I tried to tell you I don't think about you.